When she thinks he's the most handsome person, Ji-hee now wonders why everyone has been saying Dokja is ugly. She never thought about what makes him ugly. Maybe it's that his eyes and nose look blurry, or maybe it's the combination of features. But she can't remember his face and wonders what it is that makes him ugly. She tells them that he wasn't her type, and Shin says she still cried a lot during his funeral. Ji-hee replies that she was just acting at the time, and that the constellations gave them so many coins. She thinks she wants to pay him back and asks whether he ever thought she was helpful to him. Suddenly, she is notified that the ancient magic barrier will be deactivated in 1 minute. She tells Shin to carry Gil-young and run when she gives the signal. She unsheathes her sword, asks her to do as she says, and tells her to run and get some help for them. Shin follows her instructions as monsters approach to attack. Shin is running with all her strength, but a monster grabs Ji-hee. She wonders if this is really her end. She fought pretty hard, but she was still defeated. She doesn't want to die and wishes to live a little longer. She's gone through something like this before and wonders who saved her back then. Now, as the monster is about to kill her, they see a light coming from the sun. It tears through the monster's arm. Dokja appears from the side and kicks the monster in the face. Ji-hee is thrown far away. She is shocked to see him alive but can't understand what he is saying. She can't hear or see him clearly either, but she desperately wants to. Dokja steps toward her and calls her name. She thinks she never imagined he looked like that. After that, she loses consciousness, and Dokja tries to catch her. Sometime later when she wakes up, she asks if the message they got earlier was about him and whether he'll become more powerful when he becomes a constellation. Dokja tells her that he borrowed power from another story, defeated many demonic nobles, and acquired 10,000 coins. It's revealed that when someone kills a demon, they become the enemy of the demon king the demons worship. But things are different in this scenario. All the demons in the Dark Castle scenario are waiting for a new master, so no demon king is angry. He has obtained the item Advanced Demons Proof, and the lower-ranked demons now fear him. His power goes beyond what is allowed in the current scenario, and the effects of the story, the Path of Messiah, are partially active. The effect of this story is absolute divinity, and he borrowed it from Eden since it's especially effective against demon species. However, he receives a notification that Nebula Eden has requested he pay the price for quoting their story. He's thinking about this when Ji-hee calls out and asks if he's religious now. He's notified that the constellations are pleased he quoted their story. Ji-hee, badly injured, apologizes for being the 10th strongest in soul. Dokja tells her not to worry, it'll get better soon. He tries to set her bones and tells her to stay still, thinking he must use Elaine Rest Essence. He remembers leaving all his memories with Soo-young before he died. He opens the Dokkaebi shop, buys medicine for Ji-hee, and tells her to sleep. She thanks him for the medicine, and he thanks her for crying at his funeral. But Ji-hee tells him not to talk to her. Meanwhile, Gil-young and Shin approach, and Dokja is notified that his incarnation is looking at him. She runs and hugs him, and he apologizes for being so late. He thinks that, if it weren't for this feeling, he wouldn't have come running the moment he returned. Shin tells him he's a week late, and he realizes he ended up reviving later than intended. Elsewhere, Soo-young is lying injured on the ground. She wonders why Dokja hasn't returned in a week, and thinks Jung-hyuk is insanely strong. She wonders how Dokja plans to use someone like him. She then gets up and thinks the demons aren't the real problem. The real problem is Jung-hyuk, who has attacked her again. She says the things belong to Dokja and asks if he really wants to take them from her. Jung-hyuk asks why Dokja entrusted her with his stuff, and she replies that he probably finds her the most trustworthy. Jung-hyuk says it would be fine if he just killed her and kept them himself. She replies that he'd be taking a loss by killing her, and this is what Dokja would think. He then puts his sword back and tells her that if she ever brings Dokja up again in front of him, he'll kill her. After he leaves, she shouts at her constellation and asks why he didn't help her kill Jung-hyuk. The constellation Abyssal Black Flame Dragon protests that it wasn't his fault. She then thinks it's not good that Jung-hyuk took his sister with him upstairs and thinks Dokja won't like how things are going to turn out. However, since Jung-hyuk took all the proof, she might have to start from scratch again. The 9th scenario appears in front of them with a clear condition. They must hunt down the demons and collect 9 demon proofs to sacrifice at the altar, which will lead them to the 2nd floor. She thinks all the major groups have already reached the 2nd floor by working together, and she might end up losing her rank to her competitors if this keeps up. Suddenly, Hyun-sung calls her from behind and asks what happened to her. She tells him that she just got a little injured while fighting demons. Seeing that Hyun-sung is there, she assumes Dokja's other friends must be with him as well. Now she is sure she can't take the proof that belongs to the main cast while they are present, but she is shocked to see 4 girls surrounding Hyun-sung, and they tell her not to get any closer, saying it might be a trap. Soo-young smiles and says it looks like Hyun-sung has made some new friends and is quite the ladies' man. He tells her that he lost his friends in the labyrinth. The girls interrupt and ask Hyunsung why he isn't listening to them. They claim Soo-young is suspicious and tell him not to trust her because she looks weird. Suddenly, she observes something and activates her personal skill, search attribute. She then calls out to Hyunsung and says she didn't know he played for the other team. She reveals that these girls are actually tricking him and that he should know this already. The girls get angry and say she's lying. Soo-young asks them if they're enjoying tricking a naive young man. She tells Hyunsung that if he keeps hanging around them, he'll lose all his energy to those men. She reveals that they call themselves Pinkies. They sound like some idol group, but they are actually all men in their 40s. They use disguise and forbidden charm to exploit highly ranked incarnations or kill whoever is weaker than them. She thinks people lying about themselves to take advantage of others is common in the world of TWSA. Plenty of people do much worse, so it's possible that these men are not irredeemable. But she emits her aura and says she can't stand to see trash like them walk free. She is about to attack the girl. Hyunsung tries to stop her, saying they aren't bad people, but she creates her avatars and asks if he wants to see something good. She removes clothes from her avatars and tells him to look. Hyunsung sits on the ground and closes his eyes. She then runs behind the girls and obtains their information. Akyan, 41 years old, runs a coin farm. Taco Bang, 49 years old, consumed human meat and committed infanticide in the 3rd round. Minju H1, 43 years old, raped a minor. She swiftly kills the 3 of them, but she is unable to find any information on the 4th and is about to kill her, assuming she is one of them. Meanwhile, Dokja appears and asks her to keep the 4th one alive because they need her to clear the scenario. She smiles at him and asks what took him so long. He takes her to Jihye and the others. She asks him if he has become a constellation and is surprised that he can become one so easily. He tells her that it wasn't easy at all. She then asks if he'll be watching them from outside now and donating coins. He replies that won't happen. He still needs to participate in the scenarios, and that he doesn't feel any different. She looks him over for changes, and Dokja thinks he can now borrow stories and strike deals with constellations and nebulae. Certain constellations seem to view him differently now, and some are jealous of his growth. He is lost in thought when he is notified that he has glared at other constellations and spent 200 coins to send an indirect message. Soo-young also receives the notification and asks if it was him who just sent that message. Some constellations look at him in astonishment. She asks if this was why he didn't find himself a supporting constellation until now, but it's too late for her. She glares at her constellation, while the abyssal black flame dragon cautiously looks back. She then asks Dokja why he doesn't have a name yet. He thinks it's because he hasn't created enough stories. Not having a name while being a constellation is like having citizenship, but no home. He tells her that his 5th story is still in progress, and that he'll probably get his name when it's complete. She praises him, saying he suddenly looks cool, and if he keeps it up, he might even end up beating Junghyuk one day. He opens and closes his fists and is notified that he should be careful of the probability storm. The Starstream is currently evaluating his level. Since they don't yet know how much restriction to place on him, it will be fine as long as the evaluation is in progress. He then tells Soo-young that he can beat Junghyuk if he fights him, but only now. He asks her about the things he left with her, and she fulfills the contract with him. She exclaims that she felt rich while holding on to those items. He gives her 20,000 coins for her trouble. She tells him she has more than 600,000 coins and can't be satisfied with just 20,000. He then turns toward Hyunsung and asks when she's going to let him go. She doesn't care and says those aren't even her real naked body. After that, she lets him go, and Hyunsung seems to be in terrible condition. Dokja calls him, and he is shocked to see him alive and asks if he is also dead. He knows that Hyunsung's weakness is women, and he might end up walking the eunuch's path this round if he is not careful. Meanwhile, the girl calls them and asks if it's okay if she leaves, and Dokja asks her about her name. She tells him her name is Inaseo, and he asks her to tell her real name, Yul Kim. She is Yul from the Pinkies and thinks it looks like he has found the right one. After that, Soo-young asks him why he decided to spare him, since she thought the Pinkies were bad people. Dokja says they are not bad people yet, but they are going to be later on, and if she has read the novel, she should know that the Pinkies are a trio. The 4th one died before they became notorious villains. Yul is a good-natured person by default, so he is the first to die among the Pinkies. Yul hasn't killed anyone to survive until now, not even during the first scenario. He accidentally stepped on an ant and survived, and that's where he got the idea of killing insects. Soo-young asks him what he will do now, and he replies that they will beat the scenario. He knows that it's the last scenario before the liberation of Kodam. The scenario is called the Dark Castle, and Soo-young says the first floor is a piece of cake. The real test begins on the 2nd floor. Dokja thinks there was more than enough despair looming over Seoul, but there still weren't enough stories. There are never enough stories. The Dokkaebi always longs for greater despair, and the constellations still want more sensational stories. Soo-young asks him how much more cliched he can get. Progressors, regressors, and reincarnations, and now they're getting demons. He asks her to imagine that she is the writer of TWSA and why she thinks she would create a world like this. She asks him how she is supposed to know. and that a top-class author like herself would never know what a third-rate author is thinking. Dokja thinks he is an idiot for asking her. Soo-young says she has a question for him. She stares at him, and Dokja thinks he can't use the omniscient reader's viewpoint right now. But he knows what she is asking. She wants to ask him if he already knows how this world ends. He counters by asking her why these scenarios exist, according to her. Soo-young observes that he is changing the subject. Dokja asks what purpose this world has. This is the question that numerous beings of the star stream have asked at least once in the countless years they have existed, but they all had different answers. For example, the returner Kiro Roder said this universe would be lonely without it. The constellation Queen of the Darkest Spring answered with another question. Are people asking me why food exists? The Demon King Asmodeus answered that a small destruction exists to prevent a bigger one. Their answers sound romantic and even philosophical to a certain point. However, romance and philosophy are luxuries that only the well-off can afford. This is what a scenario meant to the demon Earl Tasio, who sat in the abyss plains on the scenario floor of Dark Castle. The demon seems annoyed by something and furiously clenches 2 stones in his hand. He says he is sick and tired of this. He thinks he wouldn't be there if it weren't for the Dokubi's suggestion. The Dokubi asked him if he wanted to become the 73rd king, and all demons' ultimate dream was to become a demon king. He thinks he could never fill the gap no matter how many lower-tier demons he consumed. The Dokubi told him that he didn't lack strength, he lacked stories, and he would understand this once he entered the scenario. Since then, he has been stuck there in Dark Castle, killing anyone who dared to enter. For 149 years, he has become one of the 10 strongest demons on the 2nd floor, but this isn't enough to move him up to the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor is a place where the essence of the Demon King lies, and just earning coins and gaining strength is not enough. He needs to climb to the top in these planes, and the most powerful beings on the 2nd floor don't get there because of their strength. Some constellations want him to keep going, and some are curious to know about his backstory. He gets angry and asks if they think he is a character in a video game or a story. But seeing how a constellation has started taking interest in him, there must be some insects who have managed to get past the 1st floor of Dark Castle. Ji-woon, with her group members, reaches the 2nd floor, and they face the demon. She asks him if he is a guide, and he replies that he will tell her about this place. He exclaims that the 2nd floor of Dark Castle is where only the fittest survive, and only those who prove their power and worth can move on to the next floor. He asks them to raise their hands if they need further explanations. One of them raises his hand and asks what he means by proving their strength, but in an instant, he attacks and beheads everyone, saying they were as strong as Tier 5 demons. He now turns toward Ji-woon and says it looks like she is as powerful as a Tier 4. She also seems to have a supporting constellation, and he is about to kill her, saying her story might be quite tasty. He says he has 2 questions for her and asks where she is from. Ji-woon asks him if he really thinks she would tell him. He then grabs one of her men by the head and smashes him in front of her. She asks him to stop and tells him that she is from Earth. He then asks his second question, who has accumulated the most stories among their kind? She doesn't understand what he meant by this, and he asks her who is the strongest incarnation among them. On the other side, Soo-young asks Dokja what a scenario is supposed to be, and he replies that he has explained it to her just now. She shouts at him and asks how she is supposed to understand when he makes it so figurative. They suddenly hear Yul's voice from behind, where a monster has attacked. He emits a little aura, and the monster is scared of him. Soo-young says it's good that they are breezing through the place with his power as a constellation. However, the constellations don't like it that much and want him to face more difficulties. Dokja thinks they complain when things are too easy, and they complain when things are too hard, which means they can't be happy. She asks him what he is planning to do with that man, and if he is going to take him with them. Meanwhile, the Dokkaebi appears and says he seems to be doing well for himself, and even opened the Dokkaebi shop on his own. Dokja blames him and says he is the one who suddenly disappeared and is full of himself since he has become a mid-level Dokkaebi. He congratulates him for becoming a constellation, and Dokja asks him how his channel's going. The Dokkaebi thought that becoming a constellation would make the incarnation seeker leave, but it's going even better now. The channel has been crowded because they want to see a constellation participating in the scenario, and he might have to expand his channel again soon. He then asks him to be careful because he has a lot of enemies now, and he also hears him saying that he is stronger than Jung-hyuk. Dokja replies that he is stronger than him for now, and the Dokkaebi asks if there's a rivalry between them. Dokja proudly says he is a constellation and Jung-hyuk is an incarnation, so it's obvious that he would win. He asks why he is there, and he replies that she will be born soon, and they need a story to feed her. He is her dad, so he should at least do his part of the job. Dokja says he will get her some soon, and the Dokkaebi says he likes how quick he is, and will leave it to them then. He then asks everyone if they have enough proof, but Shin still has a few more to go, and she needs to get Gil-young too. Soo-young comes forward to help when Hyun-sung approaches them and calls Dokja from behind. He asks him if it's okay to punch him on the arm, and Dokja permits him. Hyun-sung punches him and is now sure that he is really alive. He tells him that he once lost a bullet casing in the army and couldn't find it. A month later, that casing showed up where he least expected it, and since then he has always kept it in his pocket. Dokja asks him if this isn't a violation of military law, and he replies that it is. Dokja asks him why he suddenly talks about the casing, and he replies that it just popped into his head. He wonders why he is saying that while looking at his head, and he doesn't think he wants to chop his head off to keep it in his pocket. After some time, they find the altar that leads them to the second floor. Dokja asks Yul to lead the way, and Soo-young asks why he is asking him to do so, or if he is supposed to be their meat shield. Dokja asks her if she forgets the last mission before the second floor, that those who have collected all the proof on the first floor of the Dark Castle must sacrifice the proof they collected to summon a demon, which they must defeat before proceeding to the next floor. The demon is summoned on the second floor, and its strength will match the weakest member of the party. This is why he will have him take the lead, and Soo-young says he still has many dirty tricks up his sleeves. Dokja says it's not a dirty trick, he is being strategic. The prisoner of the golden headband is amazed at how calculating he is.